Started. So good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This morning's event we'll be discussing the digital world and how to develop your personal brand and storytelling. Our speaker today is Sarah Hawes from Izzy PR, who I think most of you should hopefully know by now, but if not, she's a fantastic member of Kent Invicta Chamber. She's got 20 years experience in both journalism and PR, and she's really passionate about working with small and medium-sized businesses, helping them launch their branding, raise their profile, and move their marketing to the next level as well. I've got no doubt that you're in for a great session this morning, and we would love the event to be nice and interactive as well today, so please do feel free to join in the conversation. There'll be lots of chance for asking questions, so please do feel free. There's no stupid questions, so ask any that you do have, and I will be recording the session today too, so note taking is great, but we will send the recording link out afterwards, as well as the presentation slides, so you can easily catch up on anything. I think that is everything from me for now. So if I may introduce you to Sarah.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you. Nice to see you, everyone. Yeah, as Molly said, it is interactive. So if you've got any questions along the way, do ask. I must say, I'm also quite enthusiastic about this. So the more enthusiastic I get, the faster I will speak. So if at any point I've completely lost you and speaking at the speed of sound, please put in the chat, slow down, lady, or something like that, so I know that I'm rattling on. Yeah, do ask questions, heckle, not too badly, it's not Comedy Store, but put them in the chat, ask Molly privately if you're not comfortable asking out loud, or just unmute and just ask something. I'm going to invite you to do questions sort of at various points anyway, so hopefully you'll be okay to ask them. If I put my screen share on now, Molly, is that okay? Let's get this going. Right.
Perfect.
Is that working, Molly? Yeah, all good. There's that moment of terror, isn't there, where you think, oh my God, it's not going to work. So yes, this is my branding. So personalised and bespoke support, however you communicate. This is Karma, my chameleon, obviously, because I'm a girl of the 80s. So I thought I'd start today with a quick I suppose it's to reveal your ages. What's your name and where do you come from? And have we got any Scousers on here today? Because they could do this in a much better accent than I possibly could. Have we got any Scousers who can read this out for me? Or am I going to have to embarrass myself? No, the Scousers are going to keep quiet and let me do it anyway. What's your name? Where'd you come from? Who said that? Who knows? If you're of a certain age, you'll know this. Put the answers in the chat for me. Who knows?
We've got a few people saying Cilla Black in the chat.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Yes, of course it was. Lovely Cilla Black. And I kind of say this phrase a lot to my friends, my colleagues, my clients. I say to them, it all comes back to what's your name and where do you come from? That's the things people want to know. And Cilla Black nailed it beautifully in the show, which some of us will be taken back many, many years by these outfits and sets and things like that. So today, what we're going to get through is what personal brand is, what your business brand is, how you can create, build and maintain your brand, and what to do if your reputation is threatened. So you built your brand and then it's threatened, and how to tell your story. So if any of those things will interest you, please stay. If not, then well, just listen to me anyway, I suppose. Let's have a look. So a bit about me. I thought I'd start with a bit about me so you can understand why I'm kind of got an interest in this and how I'm kind of qualified to give you the information I'm going to give you today. So I've been in journalism for 21 years now. I worked out this morning. I hadn't realised. I normally say it's about 19, but actually it's 21. And 11 of those have been in PR. So I posted this on LinkedIn the other week. And it's all my dog tags I had from various places. So I started off, I did a broadcasting degree. Went and did TV, radio and media production. Learnt to rig a studio, radio studio, TV studio, do all the presenting bits, mixing desks, all of that, the whole thing. But I came out going, actually, I wanted to do journalism and I'm still going to. So despite the careers teacher telling me that it was a man's world, I went and did it anyway. And 5 years later, I sent them my first front page to her with a note on the top of it saying, turns out it's not a man's world, which satisfied me no end. So yeah, I've done various, my 8 years in journalism was spent with the KM up in Medway, Maidstone, Dartford, and various other offices, mainly in Medway. And I went from cub reporter there, did all my training qualifications, right up to the assistant news editor, so helping to put the paper together and deciding what's going where, making sure the whole thing's legal, because you have to have quite a bit of legal training to be a journalist and put stuff out. And I'm a bit of a law bore, don't get me started on that. And then I went into my first PR job with Kent Police, which is less PR and more firefighting. There's a phone call coming in all the time from a journalist asking what's happened, why it's happened, and you've got to basically spend a lot of your time dampening that down and trying to put out positive comms about the police, which is no mean feat, I can tell you. It's quite tricky. I then, after that, I spent 2 years at the police, took redundancy from there, and then went into other PR jobs. So I've been NHS, I've been in charity, I've worked for an agency, and what else have I done? BBC, Radio Kent. I did that for about 3 months to help them out on a little glitch they had in the middle somewhere where they'd forgotten to staff before the election. And so yeah, I've done all sorts. I've kind of crossed all the PR boundaries and barriers. Done a bit of national journalism as well, but I didn't like it. I found the newsroom a really hostile, horrible place to be, and I knew that because the devil's always on my tongue, I would get into trouble. So I went back to regionals. My tip is don't take me to a wedding, because my husband says this to me whenever we park up at a wedding. He stops the car, turns to me very seriously and says, do not get their life stories, Sarah. We are here to enjoy ourselves. You do not need to come away from every wedding with a life story. Doesn't matter how many times he tells me that, I always do. So that's me. I like to get your life story. I like to know what's your name and where'd you come from, especially if you're not British, because I want to know how you got here and why you're here and why you've moved away from your lovely country you've come from. So that's me, really. That's the bit. Right, before we start, has anyone got any questions they want to ask now that I can cover in the session? I can't see the chat, can I, Molly? Is there anything coming in?
I can't see anything coming in at the moment.
Well, we shall crack on then, and then just ask any questions when you want to. And I know there's a few marketing people in here, so if there's any marketing people who've got something they want to flag up and just add as I'm going along, I'd really welcome that as well. It's always useful to have some other pros in the room.
Sarah, one of the it's Kaz Macklin here. One of the things I'd like to know is you're multi-skilled. We're so fortunate to have you as a member, and I know you've helped lots and lots of our members. It's a superb service. But what do you enjoy doing the most? What is it for Sarah that Sarah likes doing the most? I know we all have to earn a crust, and there's the everyday stuff, but maybe you could just factor in what it is that Sarah likes to do.
Well, as you probably gathered, I don't stop talking. I don't stop thinking of things to say. I don't stop thinking of things to answer with and back chat with. I've always been the same. My mum and dad had a nightmare with me trying to get a word in and teach me anything. Talking, really, finding out people's stories. So the whole thing, what's your name, where'd you come from? I love it when I can say to people, how did you get there? What did you do? What made you move from India? What made you move down from Derby? Why have you moved to Scotland? What's happened? Where's your sister now? You know, I love all that. You know, and I can be a little bit intrusive at times, and I have to give them a health warning to say to them, do you mind me asking this stuff? I spoke to a guy the other week, he might be on here actually, and I'd said to him, I had the usual thing, what's your name, where'd you come from? And because he's adopted, he didn't actually know. And I've never had that. I've never had someone say to me, I don't know. So then my mind started going wild, thinking, wow, I could use you for a character in a book and make it all up for you. So you can see how it goes. I don't know how to get anything done really, but yeah, Kaz, just mainly getting the story, getting people's stories and finding out who they are, why they do it, what makes them tick really. That's probably my favourite bit, and then putting that across. So brand, let's have a look. So I promised you I'd talk to you about brand. We've got personal PR or brand to talk about today, and business PR and brand. Both are the same thing, both nice fancy words, but we'll try and break it down today so it becomes a bit more real to you. So let's have a look. Oh, these slides come up slow, don't they? Right, so your personal PR brand this is all about you. There's a difference between personal PR brand, I'm going to call it brand, personal brand and business brand. The personal one, is all about you, the individual. It's about Molly, it's about Kaz, it's about David, it's about Rebecca, because you're the ones I can see on the screen, sorry, picking on you. And your business brand is all about your business. So let's go back to personal brand. So it's the way you communicate, it's the words you use, the behavior, the images you put out in the pictures. So for me today, I wanted to come on and look nice and tidy, you know, well presented. I didn't want to come on with my hair all messy and half my makeup done. I'll show you something I showed Molly earlier, and it is all about the PR, because if you look at this background, doesn't it look lovely and tidy? But this is the reality. I'll just give you the actual PR spin. That's what my reality looks like, because we're decorating and renovating. But if I put you over here, that's my little, literally a PR spin. So it's the words, behaviour, images and pictures. So it's the words you say. So this is how you put yourself across, the words you choose to say. I've been at various events in the past where there's been loads of swearing going on from speakers. I do not like that. The odd little one maybe, but I've heard the F word, C word, all sorts. And that all that does to me is put people really low down in my estimation. I don't want to work with people like that, because I can't trust them with my clients if they're going to speak like that. Your behaviour. So, you know, this is how people talk. This is, you know how your behavior is by how other people introduce you. So people will introduce me as a chat box and all this stuff, and that's me, isn't it? You know, just talk all the time. I do try and listen, and I do listen, obviously, because I wouldn't know some stuff about people, but I come across like I'm not listening. Images and pictures. Images, as I've said, how you portray yourself. You know, we've all turned up here today doing business, so we expect people expect us to look a certain way. You know, I wouldn't expect someone to come on here wearing their painting dungarees, unless of course they are painter and decorator. There's a kind of outfit for every occasion, and so we've got to think about that when we're in our business minds and our business head is on. And the pictures. You know, this is, I'm thinking now about when you put things out on social media or on your website, choose your pictures carefully, because they do put a certain image across. So for me, I've got various lifestyle pictures on my website. It's mainly about, as you can see, it's all about me. It's me working, it's me doing things. I certainly haven't got any far-fetched sort of like stock images of you know, imaginary boardrooms or anything like that, because I like to keep it real. Those pictures have got a place, but they're not for me. But if they are for you and they fit, then that's a different story. The next thing is how you promote yourself as an individual. So this is your style, your values, your connections and personality. So I always say it's about your personality. Be real, be true to yourself, be who you are. If you're not a loud, shouty person like me, then don't try and be. You know, if you're a nice, you're a quiet person, quiet people unnerve me, because I always think they're thinking something about me that they're probably not. But you know, there are the quiet people in the world, and there's the loud people in the world, and there's the people in the middle. You know, be who you are. Don't try and be someone you're not. I've seen a lot of it, and the thing is, when people are something they're not, especially when they're all this and that and busy and that on social media, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and when you meet them, they literally bore the pants off you. It's really weird, because you have this image of who they are, and then when you meet them, they're not that lively person. They're actually quite shy, or a bit worried, a bit anxiety, you know, all that kind of stuff. Just be who you are on all of your platforms. And your values, if I go back to that one, that's kind of like the things you believe in, really, or not values are, and your values will align you to other people. You know, if we give an example from this week, the Meghan Harry interview has completely divided the world. I'm not even going to say my views on it, because someone will get upset, or I'll just tell you you're wrong. No, I won't. But there's a huge conversation going on, and people's values have quite clearly come out of those conversations. There's all sorts of things that happen in the world. How you comment on things, your views on it, they all make a difference to how you come across. And all these things build up to creating your reputation and your public image. So for me, as I keep saying, I've got reputation for being a chat box and talking and lively, and you know, I've had all these things. She's bubbly, she's a bit crazy, my mum calls me quirky, you know, all this stuff. I'm a complete black sheep of our family. Everyone else is quite normal, apart from me, who's a little bit out there, and as they say, don't have a proper job. You know, they all do things that have got a name, but I don't. So it's all about your reputation, public image, and you want to do everything you can to be who you need to be. So for me, I need to be professional. I need to be caring, listening. I need to be someone who people trust, who people speak highly of. That's the things I want to be. So I do what I can to make that happen, really. And depends what you want to be seen as. That's how you can build it up.
Catherine, if I can just jump in there, Catherine said a really good comment in the chat here saying that the About Us section is so important and so often ignored, and she asked just what your views are on that. The About Us, what, on your website? Yeah, massively. It can be ignored, and a lot of the time the About Us section often reads, I went to university and I did a broadcasting degree and I can write some stories and I've worked with some really big clients. Well, what we really want to know is, that's great, but how can that be used to help me? So, you know, for me, I would flip that over and say, yeah, because of all this, I can find your story, I can understand it, I can identify with your target market, I can find your key messages, because you know, I can delve in and find a story. For me, as many of my clients know, I ask about 1 million questions every hour. So that's how I find out stuff. And it's often, someone once told me once, it's the by the way stuff that people tell you. That's the stuff to wait for. Right at the end, they go, oh, by the way, I got an OBE last week. It's stuff like that. And you go, what? You know, you should have told me that at the start, you know, but don't worry, we can work with it. So, you know, people often do that. The little thing with me, I see a story in everything. So my friends don't tell me stuff anymore because I have this look, apparently, and they go, oh no, she's going to do a story on it, she's going to text someone. And I do that. I do check first. But yeah, I literally see a story in everything. But when it's your business, your everyday life, you don't always see that it's that exciting. But I do. I see the excitement in it. So if we talk about this bit, so does that answer your question, Catherine? I think that did.
Yeah, absolutely. Just felt like bringing it up. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good point. When we're in person, this is usually, back in the good old days, it's networking events and meetings. As I said before, we need to look at, oh, what's happening? Oh, Molly, I've done something. We need to look good. You know, we need to look who we want to be. We need to put the right behaviour across, the right speech across. We need to be good, you know, well behaved. You know, we don't want to be the person that comes crashing and banging in and going, oh my god, my bloody car broke down. You know, you don't want to be that person. You want to walk in and, you know, be who you want to be. Otherwise you'll forever be remembered as the, you know, gobby person who ran in and, you know, trashed a meeting. So you know, think about your first impressions. Think about how you want people to view you, because your behaviour has a massive effect on that. They've got nothing else to go on other than what's in front of them. And then online, at networking like this, on your social media, website, in your emails, meetings, think about how you come across. There's loads of passive aggressive emails, aren't there, out there? Think about it. Are you writing one when you send them off? You know, because I've done it. Sometimes I do it deliberately, but most of the time we don't need to do stuff like that. But when you're on any of these channels, make sure that the words you use, the way you are, it all matches up with how you would want to be if you were in front of them, which is why trolling on social media is really odd to me, because most people wouldn't actually stand in front of the person and say what they're saying. It's this hidden thing, isn't it? So just be aware of how you come across online. You know, I did once go to a networking thing, and I spent most of the networking thing, like the first 20 minutes like that at my screen, because I was trying to work out if this lady had a dressing gown on. And I was trying to get closer and closer to see, and she did. And I thought, oh my God, why are you at networking with a dressing gown on? It was ridiculous. So it just made me never, ever want to work with her, because she's got such low standards. And that's the impression I got. I can't even remember her name, so I can't even warn you off of her, and I wouldn't anyway, because I'll come to that later. But anyway. Let's see what we've got next. This is what I was going to say. You can affect others' personal PR. So if I knew that lady's name and said it now, I've just told all you lot what my views are of her, which makes your view of it as well. So just be careful what you're saying to other people. Just to give an example, when I was a lot younger, I was working at the KM Group, and we did this training day, and at the end of the day you had to write down a couple of things you thought of everyone. It could be read out. Now I assumed that we would be writing nice things down, but the HR lady didn't get that memo when she did mine, so she wrote, Sarah is, what did she say? Sarah is much more clever than she first comes across, which translated to me meant, sounds like a bit of a thicko really. So, and that's never left me. And I said to her, what? Everyone sort of in the room went, what? So for her, she kind of damaged me a little bit there, reputation-wise, because she made everyone think, yeah, she's a bit stupid. And then she qualified it by saying, well, you know, you just come across as all sort of bubbly and, I don't know what you're doing. And then when it came to it, you solved the whole thing for us and thought outside the box and everything. I was like, oh, right, well, why couldn't you have said that? Like, you know, good thinker, problem solver, not, oh, you sound a bit divvy to start with. So, you know, you just got to be careful about what you say about other people, because they might be trying to, you know, build up their personal brand and get themselves organized, and then something you say can just bring them crashing down. Also, the other thing that's caught me out in the past is saying things of a personal nature in front of business colleagues, because remember, you might know someone very well and can have a laugh and a joke with them. Catherine, who spoke earlier, Catherine Stevens, we've never met each other, but we have some really wonderful conversations on our videos, and there's stuff I would say to Catherine and have a laugh and joke, which I would never then bring up and go, oh, Catherine did this, you know, I'd never do that, because that's, you've got to think about crossing the line. So just be careful about what you tell people. Right, now this is our first opportunity to ask any questions. We've finished the personal brand bit. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask out loud in the chat, privately to Molly, if we're not that brave?
There's just a lot of supportive comments at the moment, agreeing with what you've just said. You know, someone just said that was such a backhanded compliment. People forgetting how passive aggressive their comments can come across. Laura's just said, if someone's rude about someone else in front of me, it makes me wonder what they might say about me when I'm not there. So then I don't trust them, which is so true. Yeah, and I would agree with that. Yeah, I would definitely be careful about what you say, and it does, you know, if I'm speaking, I'm going to pick on Catherine again. If I'm speaking to Catherine and she starts really going for it, slating someone, I might be thinking, why is she telling me? Like, why? You know, oh my God, I can't upset her because, oh my God, she's going to do this to me. You get a feeling that people aren't going to do that. But yeah, if you've never met them before and they suddenly start doing that, I've been to networking meetings before where I've said, oh, I don't know that person over there. Can you go and introduce me to Mike? Sorry if there's a mic on here. I can't see everybody. And then, oh no, don't go and meet Mike. Oh my God, you should have seen what he said last week. Oh, you know, you can't do that. You know, let people make their own judgments because we're all different. So, but you know, I will get on with different people to you. So, you know, let people make their own judgments. Let's go on to the business side. So, business PR or brand. This is, let's forget who we are for a minute. Let's forget Sarah, Molly, David and Catherine, because they're the ones I can see. We're going to talk about the businesses. So this is your business. This is what you say about your business and what you want people to know about your business. Because for a lot of us, our businesses start with us as one person, and the business, there is a fine line between the business and the individual. But some of us look to grow. So when we grow, we need to move away from talking about me and putting your own face out. This is what I'm doing at the moment with my business because it is growing. And I've got various people with me now, so I'm moving away from being Sarah and it's me and I do this to we do this, we can do this, here's our skills. And so your business PR and brand is more about the company and what that does. So let's pick on David. So I know a bit about David because we've had some chats. So David, the individual, is the guy who used to do gaming, was really unhealthy, had terrible mental health issues, and his story is that he came out of it. He sorted himself out. It's very brief, sorry, David, but he sorted himself out and found a way forward and is really loving his life now. His company is based on his story, but his company isn't about finding all the gamers who are overweight and in the same situation. His company is to do with much more wider remit than that. So that's just briefly, that's the difference we're looking for. So your company is who your company is. It's to do with your values. So are you a vegan company? Are you an ethical company? Are you a company that is particularly charitable or community based? Are you a company that just wants to, you know, make the money? Are you a really serious corporate, that sort of thing? Is that where you're heading? Your affiliations are also your company. So for me, I've got quite a few people around me who work with me. I wouldn't work with them if they didn't have the same values as me, because they would, in about 5 seconds, really annoy me and I wouldn't want to work with them. I need people around me who are diligent, like deadlines, because I literally run my entire life on deadlines, even the house. It's just the newspaper background in me.
Affiliations, I'm just trying to think of another example. It's who you've got around you. So what you don't want is someone be linked to someone who is so far apart from your own values and thoughts that they kind of damage your company when they become involved with it. Same with your suppliers. Make sure that they're kind of in the same league as you as well, because again, by being linked to suppliers who are a little bit dodgy, have got a few things going on, if there's a supplier out there who has got a bit of a bad reputation, try not to get involved with them unless you really have to, because their reputation projects onto you. And the same with your community work, your corporate social responsibility. I mean, that's just big words for being nice and sharing and caring and all of that. There's a lot more to it, but that's the basis of it for you. All of that stuff. Make sure that what you're doing is aligned with your business. So for me, there's not an obvious charity or something for me to support. So I simply support one of my clients. It's a children's bereavement charity. I have no experience with child bereavement. It didn't happen to me. I know people it has happened to with their children, or they've gone through it. So I kind of a little bit connected in that way. But other than that, I don't have that connection. But that's who I align to. I like to align with a charity, and I really always say to my clients, aligning with a charity, supporting a charity is such a lovely thing to do for a business, because you can give a little bit back, you can raise their profile, and by raising their profile you also raise your own as well. So what you can do for each other is amazing. So let's have a look. So your business brand goes across several different places. So it's on your website. So Catherine mentioned this earlier. Have a look at your website. Is it true? Is it a true and current reflection of what you're doing now? So are you still a company that operates ethically? Are you still a company that sources all your products organically? Are you still, have you got a question, David? No? Oh, I just put, no, sorry. I put the mouse over you and it made it look like you were going to ask a question. Are you, is it all true? Does it need a refresh? Are your current values on there? If you have grown a company and now you're supporting a charity, perhaps you're giving 10% of your profits to them. Do people know that? Because if they did and they knew what charity it was, you might pick up some more alignment and support and loyalty from people who now know that. They might have been looking for a business just like yours. So make sure everything you're doing is updated and current on there. Same with your social media. Does it fit your brand? So if you're quite a I'm going to pick on the accountants, because I always pick on the accountants. If you're an accountant and all your social media is all really wacky and bright and jazzy and language, sort of like Insta language, that kind of stuff, and then when we meet you, you're quite a reserved person who does not fit that sort of persona that's gone out. It's very confusing because you feel like you know them, and then you actually find out you don't. It's a bit weird. So make sure that all of your persona, your business brand, is actually who you are when people meet you. So let's not try and be a wacky person over here, but actually when we meet you, you're not that person. There's nothing wrong with being not a wacky person. Just don't tell people you are if you're not. It goes back to what I said before. And the same with your marketing materials. Make sure all that's consistent as well, because what we don't want is kind of like cartoony, pop art leaflets when you're an accountant that specialises in quite serious corporate things, or you're a family lawyer, stuff like that. So it doesn't really work. So just think about what you need to put out to who. So I just thought I'd mention the Izzy brand as we got to the end of business brand. This is Karma, this chameleon, and I did ask, it's a bit naughty, I did ask people on LinkedIn to name him, but I had an idea I wanted to call him Karma anyway, so I did kind of put it out there. I love the 80s, so that's why. And the reason I've got, well, here's his friends. The reason I've got the animal stuff, and my friend helped me come up with this, and when she first floated this idea past me, I literally looked at her like she was crazy. She said to me, bear with me, I've got a theme, I've got an idea for your new brand, animals. And I just looked at her, I was like, what are you talking about? She went, animals. They all communicate in different ways. And when we're doing PR marketing, we have to communicate in different ways for different target audiences, for different clients, on different platforms, whether it's a press release, a website, social media. Everything we do requires a slightly different choice of communication, a deliberate choice of communication. So I was like, okay, so asked my graphic designer to do this, and he came up with this wonderful branding, which I absolutely love. I do love it. I love purple. I love the animals. So chameleons change colour. I'm not going to remember these now, am I? Chameleons change colour. The whales use sonar, don't they? I think this monkey does a funny noise. The prairie dog, they come up with new words for stuff. So if Catherine walked into their field, they'd make up a new word for Catherine because they haven't seen a Catherine before. The bees, I can't remember what they do. The lions, they've got different roars, and on it goes. You know, you get the idea. So they've all the animal kingdom. You can probably think of loads more. They've all got different ways of communicating. So that's the idea behind my branding. Very subtle, but it looks good. So the two jobs are tips there. So before I move on and talk more at the speed of light, any questions? You can ask questions about your particular businesses if you want as well.
Sarah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for highlighting me, and it's a really interesting point because I've always wondered for myself, like, that's terrible grammar and language, very much in the sense of I am my brand.
Yeah.
I am who I am, and people obviously I know I'm well known within Kent, but for me, I've always questioned about how much of my focus should be on my business brand, if that makes sense. Because I kind of feel for me that it isn't, because I am who I am, and people, I know that people have said like people buy from people. So I don't know how you'd think. I feel like my main focus should be on my personal brand. I don't know what you think about that.
I agree, David. I've seen how you go about things, and I think you're spot on with what you do, because it is important for people to know your background and your history. Wherever I've seen you, you always very kindly show that before picture, the one you've got on your background now, and it just means that you're not a midwife that hasn't had a baby. Do you know what I mean? You're not a health that hasn't had a baby. You've done it all. You know what you're talking about. You've been there, done it. You're not just a theorist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you bring a little bit more to the party because you've lived it. You've got the t-shirt. So I think it's important, as it is you, to dine out on the fact that it is you. I think you're doing the right thing with it. But just make sure that when you, I suppose, when you're bringing other things other than the weight loss in, the weight loss stuff and the mental health stuff, that's the stuff that directly relates to you. Some of the other services you do don't. I know they're tied in, but they're not as strong as those ones. So just, I suppose, major on the ones that are aligned to your story, and then use a different tack for the ones that aren't.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any questions? Oh, who's that?
Same sort of question.
Yep.
But from a much more business to business sort of product, service, whatever you want to call it. Getting the balance right between personal. Any tips?
Yeah. So, what do you do, Tim? Have I frozen, or is Tim frozen?
I don't know. I think you don't think it's me. My internet is unstable. Message. It's back now.
What do you do, Tim?
My business is called Malik's Master, and it's an email management tool.
Okay.
Very quickly, so it's an online cloud-based database for emails.
Okay, so with you, probably as it's B2B, I would probably more focus what you do on the problems you solve for the businesses as a business. So market your business. I mean, put yourself in it as well. People will know you when they're speaking to you. They'll get to know you, but your business solves problems for other businesses, doesn't it? So when they've got I hope I'm right in saying this, when they've got an overloaded email box, don't know what to do with it, it's gone bang, there's 800 unread ones in there. How do I filter them? How do I even use the filters? What's all that about? My life is spent on emails. All those kind of, I suppose for you, it'd be identifying all their problems and showing how you can solve them. And you can indeed show how you've solved them for yourself as well, because there would have been a time of day when you had an exploding inbox as well. So you've in a similar way to David, you've been there with the problems that your clients have got, but you've solved them.
Well, it's good to hear that's what I'm trying to do. So it's good to hear that you agree with what I'm trying to do.
Good. Anyone else?
All right, Sarah, it's Jim.
Hi, Jim.
All right, yeah, I find it weird throughout my life. I've always been a bit of a laugher and a joker and a wind-up.
Yeah.
Because that's what sort of guy I am. Always love having a laugh. And what I find really strange is people don't trust me because they think I'm winding them up. But the only thing they do trust me with is electrics.
Yeah.
And I find that weird.
I suppose I've had the same as well, because I'm always laughing and joking. Even if my house was falling down, I'd probably find something funny to say. I'd make some joke, and I do make some really weird jokes sometimes. I was going to share one, but I don't know if I should. No, I won't.
John just as he said, shocking.
Shopping.
Shocking, yeah.
Yeah, shocking. Yeah, it's electrifying. I think, just be who you are, Jim, because people buy people, if they also remember that people do actually like getting to know people. So when you walk in and you're like, oh, hello, that's a nice picture. Where was that holiday? Tenerife, I haven't been there for a while, that sort of stuff. If you're that kind of person that picks up on that people stuff, carry on being that person, because they like it. They get to know you. They don't feel like it's this sort of disinterested electrician coming in just going, oh, where's your fuse board? I'll go and sort that out. They like it. So just be who you are, completely be.
Yeah, I mean, I totally love it. And with CPA, it makes us a great team because my son's my boss and he's as shy as anything.
Yeah, I love that about you. When you said the other day, my son's my boss, I just thought that's really, really, that's such a good thing. It's such an unusual thing to be. Normally it's the dad that's boss, but he gets to boss you.
Well, I still am, but I wouldn't tell him that.
No, we won't tell him that, no.
If I could have answered a point that you're making about people being fake and being who they are, and David Proud has said, people will know if you're trying to be fake. People often forget linguistically, right? People might not consciously pick up on it, but subconsciously, if the language they're using and the way they're talking doesn't match the way they are, it won't be congruent. People will pick up on it. Not consciously, but they will start feeling that something's not right, and it comes down to that trust.
They can't quite put their finger on it, can they?
Yeah, they're like, and it'll be very, very weird. People are like, people forget about that. So absolutely be who you are, but obviously within reason.
Yeah, well, I've gone through, probably a few years ago, I went through a time when I really had this personality crisis. I kept getting told I was gobby, I was loud, I talked over people, I had too much to say, I used big words that people didn't understand. And I was like flipping out. I was getting like character assassinated the whole time by people, and it was the same comments being saying. And I thought to myself, I've got a 9-year-old who, if some of you have met her on the Zooms during the homeschooling sessions, and she's really like me. And I've had really derogatory words over her. She's a chatterbox. She doesn't stop talking. Well, why don't we flip that over and say she's always got something to say? She's really good at small talk. She can always have a conversation, always find something to say. Why don't we flip it over and turn it more positively? So what if I'm a chatterbox? Don't talk to me if I talk too much to you. That sort of thing. So I kind of came full circle with it. Just, well, it's who I am. My mind is constantly filling with words and language and things I feel like I need to say. I probably don't. My friend calls it what does she call it? A stream of consciousness. She says to me, when I talk to you, it's like a stream of consciousness, like nothing's filtered. And she's the same, so that's how she gets away with it. But yeah, just be who you are. Just be who you are. Any other questions before we go on?
I think that looks like everything for now.
Lovely. So let's have a look. So once you've got your brand, how do you create, build and maintain it? Because they're the things next. So we know who we are, we know what we're doing, we've decided we can be a chatty electrician and things like that. And so this comes down to deciding these things: who you are, what do you do, why do you do it, and like I said, be yourself and be true. So on all of your communications, whether it's face-to-face, websites, socials, blogs, anything like that, you've got to build this persona of who you are. And if you just stick to who you actually are, this will be a whole lot easier. But like I said, it's got to come back to who you want to be in your business. So when I'm at work, like sitting here with you guys, I'm quite a different person to when I'm out with my friends. I talk like a bloke in a pub. I'm terrible. I swear a lot, but I wouldn't do that with you guys, because that's not what we're here to do. It's a different personality required. So you're still getting the good old Sarah, but just, or good old, I'm saying that, might not be. So it's still getting Sarah, but just a sort of more sensible version of it, which is always what we want to do. We need to kind of choose what's appropriate and how we behave with different people. So once you've done all that, you need to build it. So here's a few bit of buzzword bingo for you. Key messages. This is just good old-fashioned what to say. Key messages. These are the main things you want people to get across, want to get across from you. So for me, I want people to know that I'm an outsourced marketing manager. I want them to know that I'm an outsourced press officer. When you can't be bothered to write stuff, you don't know what to say, you're not sure about it, English isn't your first language, you just never get to this stuff because you've got electrician things to do, then I'm the person that steps in and gets it all done, does it to deadline, does it well, and just makes it look like you are fantastic on your socials. Because I've spent 20 years writing stories that no one knew I wrote because my name wasn't on them. So I just carry on doing that for you. People will think you're writing them unless we say otherwise, and they'll just think you're doing this all by yourself. Your competitors will be like, wow, look at them, they're doing loads, and you're not. I'm doing it for you, but we just don't say that. And then your target audience, another buzzword bingo. This is just who to say it to. So you've got to know who you're saying it to. So say with David, his target audience is not people who are really happy with their lives, rocking it, smashing it, whatever you want to say. His target audience is not that. It's the complete opposite. So he's not going to market any of his services to the really happy people. He's looking for people who want to change, need to change, and have a reason to do it. And then how we say on all of this, how we say our messages is our language, vocabulary, and tone of voice. So going back to the really excitable accountant, if the accountancy firm is not exciting at all and they are quite straight-laced and very professional and things like that, we don't want their tone of voice across all of their communications to be wild and wacky, because it just doesn't tie in with who they really are. Language and vocabulary, we've got to talk in language that people understand. So if I was to use all of the PR journalism lingo and jargon, and my mind has gone completely blank, marketing people, please shout a few out for me that people get really confused with. Well, we've got a couple here: key messages, target audience, avatars. What other ones have we got? There's loads, aren't there? In journalism, you've got footers, guttering. There's a phrase called gash pages, which is basically the centre spread of a newspaper. It's a horrible phrase, but it's used. There's so many, if I put all those kind of bits and pieces out on my socials, you wouldn't have a clue what I was talking about. So leave your jargon for your colleagues and put it in plain speak, nice plain English, layman terms for the rest of us, so we know what you're doing. Was there any questions? I see the chat's going a bit. Is it, or is that just flashing? Anything on there, Molly?
Just a couple of electric puns. A couple jokes still going in there, and yeah, Jim and Rosemary just saying about some of their collaborations, which is great to hear.
Okay, good. So once we've created it, we're building it, and then we've got our messages, we know who our audience is, we know what our tone of voice is going to be. We've then got to decide where we're going to say it. So if we are a company selling stair lifts, we are probably not going to go on Instagram, because our target client is probably not on there. There's not many sort of youngsters on the Instagram age band that are going to want a stair lift. They might want one for an older person in their family, but generally they're not looking for that stuff on there. So you've got to pick your channels carefully. So whenever I'm working with a client, I say to them, where, once we've got the target audience, it's a case of where do they hang out? Where are they? Are they looking at Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube? Where are they going to find you? And that's where you put your communications. And then when to say it, the timing. So whatever your and so many PR campaigns have been thwarted by timing. You lead up this big event, this big PR launch, and then something in the news completely comes out of nowhere, either completely unrelated to your launch, or you just know you're not going to cut through any of it and get any kind of publicity when there's this massive story going on. So this week, if you were thinking of doing any kind of product launch or wanted to announce anything, or this week was not the week to do it, with the Meghan and Harry thing going on. There's been nothing else on the news at all. other than that, really, that you wouldn't have cut through. So when to say it, timing. You've got to know when you're going to say stuff. There's no point talking about Christmas stuff in January because everyone's sick of it. And likewise, there's no point really talking about Easter till about 4 weeks before. Don't put it in January either. Think about what you're saying and when, and is it relevant to people? When do people start thinking about your product and when they need it? Is it seasonal? Is it monthly? Is it a birthday thing? Is it a Christmas thing? Have a think about when to say stuff. And then once we've done all that, we've got to maintain it. So we can't just like think of it all and be wonderful for 2 minutes and then, you know, be a 5-minute wonder. We've got to think about how we can keep it going. So if you've got some wonderful social media going out, if you've got some networking going on, you're turning up, people are seeing you, keep it going. You know, people need to see you consistent. They need to see your predictability a little bit. So they're going to expect to see some social media. They're going to expect to see various faces at these networking events, whether it's face-to-face or online. You know, I go to these networking events with the chamber quite often, and I pretty much know who to expect to see. And it's nice because I think, oh, they're going to be there. I can speak to them again. You know, I always look out for Catherine because we've always got a lot to say to each other. And, you know, so there's various other people I think, oh, great, you know, I'm going to see you again. I'd like to know a bit more. Glad you're here. So, you know, don't just drop off the face of the earth once you've got everything set up. Don't just run it for a month and then forget about it. Keep it going. Keep making sure that people know your values. You're talking about them. You're sharing it. If you're doing community charity work, share it. Let us know. If you source another ethical product supplier, share it. Let us know, because all the ethical people will love it. And it just reinforces your brand and values. Likewise with your affiliations and associations, keep up the communications about them as well, because as I say, it aligns you to people. And as I said before, be who you say you are. Don't suddenly start being the wacky accountant if you weren't before. Won't work. And then once we've done all this, what happens if something goes wrong? The PR disaster. Nobody wants a PR disaster. No one wants their beautifully crafted, spent ages on reputation threatened. So there's different ways this can happen. In the job, we call this crisis communications. Some of you might know it as what's it hitting the fan. Replace what's it with whatever word you like. But it's not a nice situation to be in. I learned all my crisis communication skills at the police, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of crisis going there, and there's a lot of communication that needs to happen to try and solve it all and get stories off the front pages. So it could be something that you said or did. This could go back to just a slip up in your behaviour or something you've said. It could be a staff issue. You know, the obvious one is a crime. Perhaps one of your staff members has been arrested for something, charged with it, have gone to court. Your company will get named in the court proceedings, because most of the information comes out, especially if it's something a little bit high profile. That can damage you. Affiliation behaviour, your suppliers or people you're affiliated with, if they've been up to no good, and you get roped in somehow or named, it can be quite damaging to you. All of these things can lead to a potential media story and put your reputation at risk. And it's pretty frightening when it happens. It happens very quickly. And the service I have is 24 hours. So if you've got any what's it hitting the fan at any time, the best thing to do is get on the phone very, very quickly to me or someone else who does this kind of work. And the more informed your crisis communications person is, the more they can do for you. Don't leave anything out. It's the fess up time, really, if things start happening, because if they don't know stuff and it's found out later and presented to them, it's very hard to backpedal. So I had a call from someone at about 4 o'clock in the morning once. He ran a travel company, and there was a coach party went off a cliff in Romania, and he had a coach party out in Romania, and he rang me going, oh my God, what if it's mine? So we stayed up. We didn't know if it was his. We weren't going to know for ages. So we got all the comms ready just in case, to be able to know what to say, how to say it, and put all the sympathy across and all of that. And you know, what he needed to say as a business to protect him. And you know, we're doing all we can, all of that. So we didn't need it. It wasn't his company, but he was prepared, and that was good. So when we're dealing with the media, these are my top 3 tips. Give the media news, views and lose. So if they come knocking on your door saying we've got this terrible story about you, do not slam it in their face and tell them to bugger off. you have to front it up, you have to deal with it, because the more you give them and the nicer you are to them, the nicer they'll be to you. I know a lot of people hate journalism, and it is a job. It's a job I've done, and it isn't great. It isn't great as a journalist to go and knock on someone's door with a terrible story. But the override for journalists, the overriding thought of seeing your story on the front page does completely override any kind of nastiness you're going to get towards you. You really want to get it on the front page and get that story before your competitors and colleagues. So my advice is to just front it up, ask them what information they've got, ask them what they're going to do with it, ask them what they want you to do. So they might want you to give a statement, they might want you to reply. You've got a chance here to put things right. So if they have got any information wrong, you've got a chance here to put it right. If you just slam the door in their face, they're going to run what they want anyway. You might as well get involved and try and steer it a little bit. So this can be done in various ways. The next thing we've got is views. So this covers things like if they want to film on your premises, let them. They might want to stand outside and film on your premises and say, this is the terrible company doing this. Just let them do it. Give them a spot. Say to them, you can do it there. Let them do it. Arrange a time with them. If they want a headshot of you to run in a paper, send them a nice one. If it's a terrible story about something awful, don't send them your smiley one like that going, this is great. Send them a more, sensible one. Don't make it any worse for yourself. And the third thing is lose. They are out on the road, journalists. Be nice to them. Let them give them a loo to use. Make them a cup of tea. Because as we've said before, people buy people. So if you're being nice to the journalist, and I've had it before, I've gone out on a terrible story, they've been very hostile, then I've kind of won them round. We've ended up sitting there having a chat, popped a loo when I won, and all of a sudden you start thinking, oh God, I don't want to cut this person's leg just as much. So you can really get on the charm offensive here and try and sort of blow it out of the water a little bit. But this is that really you should not be handling on your own if it's reputation risk. There's myself that does it, there's other people that do it, but you need to jump on it if it's happening. Last bit, storytelling. So the first question to ask yourself, does anyone want to ask about communications? I can't even say it, crisis communications. Has anyone got any questions there?
There's no questions in the chat at the moment, but Christina has said for crisis comms, it's always tell us the full story, even if you don't think. Oh my God, stumbling on my words. And for crisis comms, always tell the full story, even if you don't think it's important or relevant.
Yeah, and the bit of information where you think, you think, oh, I'm not proud of that. I really don't want to reveal that. Just fess it up, because it could affect the whole content of what we're going to put out. So, yeah, that's a good point, Christina. Thank you. Storytelling. The first thing to ask yourself when you're thinking about putting your story out is it a good story or is it non-story? Because we've all seen this kind of stuff. We want to have a good story, whether it's a good personal story or a good company story. So example of a good personal story could be something you're doing for charity. It could be you've won an award, got an OBE, you have taken on a massive contract at great expense or something like that. It's got to be a good story. It's got to be something where you think, if I heard this, I'd tell someone else. I always call it the pub test. If you're in a pub, back in the good old days when we used to go to pubs, would you pass it on? Would it come up in conversation? Would it be something you go, oh, guess what I heard? Try and think of it like that, because if you're not going to do that with your own story, probably others won't. And the same with your company stories. This is all about your company. So more to do with the company, less to do with personal, although the two aren't mutually exclusive. It could be some company news along the lines of you've got a big contract, you've started supporting a charity, you've moved premises and you're doing this, that and the other. You've help me out, Catherine. Examples, lots of examples. We're doing loads of comms about different stories, aren't we, for our clients? There's lots of things you can do. And how to tell your stories, you can do them every single way. I always say to clients, be your own publisher, because don't rely on someone else to publish your story. Always publish it yourself. So you've got your website, your socials, and you can share it verbally. You can tell people about it as well. So make sure you're your own publisher. And the reason why stories are so powerful is everything we've covered today. It's getting to know people, it's sharing your values, it's building relationships. If I just knew Jim as an electrician, he's just an electrician. There's loads of electricians, but I know Jim as this friendly guy. He's his boss, is his son is his boss. You know, he's a laugh, he has a joke. You know, I'm warm to him. I'll be loyal to him because I understand him and I know him a little bit more. But if Jim was just Jim the electrician, I don't know. There's no reason for me to sort of think, oh yeah, I must go to Jim, because all I know is those two things about him. So build everything up. Storytelling allows you to build stuff up with people. I'll just, if I've got time, I'll just cover a bit about a press release. People ask me all the time about press releases, how to do them, what to do. Your press release needs to be original story. Don't send something to a journalist that was printed last year and you've just rehashed it or something like that. They want original stories. That's why it's called news, because it's new. So you want about 350 words maximum. Any more than that and it turns into a right ramble and they're just going to not look at it. Try and send an image with it. Really good quality image. Remember that when you publish stuff, it needs to be a good quality image. They won't publish images that are rubbish, and they certainly won't come back to you and say, excuse me, if you've got a better one. They just won't use it. So make sure you send everything that they need. Pop a quote in there. It's always good to have a quote. It doesn't always have to be from the CEO. I work with a charity, and when we're talking about the services they provide, it's not the CEO who talks about it often. It's the program manager, because she's the one that's designed the services and delivering them. It's not really for the CEO to talk about because it's not her area. So it doesn't always have to be the CEO, MD. It can be someone else. And then when you do your press release and you write it, make sure the headline, it's got the main point in it. Make sure that it grabs their attention. So the main point of the story needs to be in the headline. Otherwise, it just sounds really rambling. They haven't got a clue what it's about. And they're probably going to just spike it, delete it before they've even done much with it, which is not what you want them to do. And once you've got your headline, your first 2 or 3 paragraphs, your intro should be really tight. It needs to be an expansion of the headline. So we get the main gist in about 10 or 12 words in the headline, and then the next couple of paragraphs need to be an expansion of that. And then your press release eventually needs to cover all of these things. Once you can tick all these things off in some sort of order, it doesn't have to be this order, the journalist is happy. So when you write your stuff down, we all learnt this stuff at school. My 9-year-old told me this the other day. She saw this slide and went, oh, we've done that at school. We all know this stuff. We just need to make sure we use it and tick it off. So if someone's telling you a story and they miss a couple of these out, you're thinking, something's not right here. I don't know enough. Well, I am anyway. I need to know everything. So make sure you cover these bits. And with your press release, make sure it's relevant to the publication. Do not send, Tim shouldn't be sending an IT story to Good Housekeeping. Jim shouldn't be sending an electrician story to Vogue, you know, that sort of thing. Make sure that you're sending it to the right place with the geography as well. So when I was at Medway Messenger, we frequently used to get stories from all over the country. And sometimes on a good day, I would just delete it. Other times I'd write a bit of a narky reply back and say, did you know we're based in Kent, Durham PR person or whatever, but you haven't got time to do all that. So to get the most chance of getting your story in somewhere, make sure these 3 bits are ticked. Have you sent it to the right publication that covers your geography? Have you sent the right information about the topic? And the journalist, don't send your IT story to the environment journalist. Don't send your I don't know, your accounting story to the wildlife expert. You know, make sure you send it to the right journalist. Try not to send it to general news desk emails as well, because that just gets shared amongst everyone. Try and identify an actual journalist and send them a personal message, because then they know it's been targeted.
I'd look good though, Sarah, on the front page of Vogue, wouldn't I?
You would. I mean, I'm not saying you wouldn't, Jim. I hope I didn't imply that. I mean, I don't know why you were there before, to be honest. And that's it. Anyone any questions? I know we're just up to time, but
that's brilliant. I don't think there's any questions unless I've missed anything in the chat at the moment. Catherine had a good comment here saying businesses have changed and people aren't psychic, so you need to tell your story, and it also makes people think that you're considering them and that you'll look after them as customers if you're communicating your protocols. Yeah,
entirely. Yeah, absolutely. They do need to know what you're about, and as if things are changing, then tell them, you know, it might be something that they then identify with later on if they didn't before.
And we had another comment here as well about crisis communications, saying answer the questions that are asked, sometimes saying too much, i.e. not what is asked. Can only dig a hole a bit deeper. Confessing must be measured and calm, and might say something that you did not mean or that had been misunderstood.
Yeah, so I had one recently. I was working with a school. They had a newspaper come to them and say, we've heard all this stuff about you. They sent me the thing they were going to send out, and seriously, they would have completely cut their own legs with it. I was like, no, do not send this out. I rang the editor, said a few things. I said, what have you got on them? We've got this, that and the other. I pointed out that perhaps their source wasn't quite credible. It was a disgruntled colleague, actually, who had gone to them. She'd basically been sacked, wasn't happy with it, and rang the papers. So that's where he was. So I put it in his head that perhaps his source wasn't credible. Maybe it was the disgruntled sacked colleague, and did he know what they'd been up to warrant the dismissal? No, he didn't. I informed him. Then on the Thursday morning, I checked. I logged on and was like desperate to see if the story had gone in, and it hadn't. So I rang the client. They went, oh, can you ring him and see what's going on? I was like, no, we've got to look casual. So at 2 o'clock, I phoned and went, oh, yes, that story hasn't gone in. Are you going to use that next week then? Or no, Sarah, you've blown it out of the water. So on the phone, I was like, oh, okay, that's a shame. Really, I was going, yeah, because it's always nice to do that for a client. So yeah, if they had given all the information that they were going to give, they would have massively stitched themselves up. Less is more, but you've still got to stick to the truth as well, and absolutely answer the questions exactly have they been answered. So have they been asked? So with this one, I did go back and answer everything, and then with my journalist hat on, I already knew what gaps I'd left, because all I'd done was answered. He asked it. I answered it, a bit like with my husband in dishwasher. I asked him to do dishwasher and he don't quite finish it. So his idea of doing dishwasher is like emptying it, not filling it back up again and stuff like that. So like with the media, you've got to do what they give them information they've asked. Yeah, too much is definitely damaging.
Other than that, it looks like, unless anybody has any questions, it looks like you've answered everyone in the chat. Just lots of praise and lots of people saying thank you so much for today, and I'd like to follow that as well and just say a massive thank you. It's been a really brilliant session and lovely to hear from you. You're welcome. If everyone's got any questions that pop up afterwards, do get in touch on the LinkedIn or the other channels. I'm always happy to give you a steer and a hand.
We've got grateful thanks as well from me. Molly, is it okay if I do a quick shout out for the next business talks? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Guys, upcoming on the 18th of March, which is only next week, we've got business talks with Kaz Macklin. They always attract a high guest list. And on this particular item, we're featuring Delga Press. They're a local company, a PLC, been in business for 60 years. So I'm hoping that will be interesting for all of you guys. It's free to attend, open to all, and we'd be delighted to have you there. David, thank you so much. I can see that you're already booked in. I think it only remains for us to say thank you so much, as always, to our loyal members and to our guests. Molly, you've been a superb host, as always. Thank you so much for your kind facilitation. Without Molly, these things wouldn't run quite as smoothly. And Sarah, always an inspiration, always insightful and always interesting. Keep on doing what you're doing. And if anyone would like to talk to Sarah privately, I'm sure she'd be willing to schedule in an informal latte call. So it only remains for me to say thank you. Take care to everyone. Stay safe. And hopefully we'll see you at the next event. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.